I see that it's 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newton Area Planning Commission. I want to welcome everyone. The first item on tonight's agenda is to consider for approval the July 10th meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at those? If so, I would entertain a motion for their approval.
I'd make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Kelsey.
Second.
Second. Any discussion in regard to the motion? Carl, go ahead.
My only question is, it's very detailed, much more detailed minutes than we have had in the past. Minutes are to be concise and precise. We've never had the background or any of that in our minutes prior to, is my only question. It's been just the discussion and the vote and the motions.
Is this on purpose?
Yes, we're trying to make sure that we capture everything, especially because you've got some new things that are coming through, specifically with your discussion about ADUs and your very first one. And in fact, I think Commissioner Harris, you even mentioned that we want to make sure that we are treating everybody the same and setting precedents. So we're making sure that we capture everything here for you, so that when we look at these each time, you have the information in front of you.
Don't have a problem with it, just different.
Yeah.
Definitely shift, definitely shift. Really good job keeping the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion in regard to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 2 on tonight's agenda is consider a preliminary plat for the Vansickle addition. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, before you, you have a preliminary plat for the Vansickle addition that's been submitted by Baughman Company on behalf of the applicant, David and Judith Vansickle. This is for property that's located on Cottonwood Hills Drive between Lazy Creek Drive and Corey Road. As per the city subdivision regulations, the preliminary plat was submitted to the appropriate city staff and area utility companies for review, along with the request that they forward proposed changes and comments. Those changes and comments were communicated to Baughman, who will provide an updated version of the revised preliminary plat incorporating the requests and comments. Staff continues to work with the applicant on a few items, and the items we have listed, will go over those. This is coming before you, of course, in advance of the final plat. And if you're satisfied with the requirements of all the applicable subdivision regulations and that they have been met, then they would move forward with the next step. And we would ask that you approve this evening, subject to the following items. The preliminary plat still requires adequate legend. That's item G on your cover memo. And item M, the location of the water and sewer distribution collection system. The plat must show that these systems extend along the entire property line of each lot or in an easement appropriate for each lot. It's preferred that the water lines are placed along the street frontage within the required 20 feet utility easement, and sewer placed in the rear of the lots within the required 20 feet utility easement. All lots within 400 feet of existing sewer mains shall be required to connect to sewer at the cost to the developer. The sewer would need to be extended. Item P, setbacks, yards, and any entrance restrictions. Setbacks shall be shown as a building envelope representing that portion of the lot within the yards and setbacks that can reasonably contain, depending upon watercourses, topography, or geology, and the principal structure. North side limit of one access only. And item U, horizontal location within the subdivision, the horizontal location of the adjoining streets and property of existing sanitary and storm sewers, including flow lines, water mains, culverts, and underground wiring, pipeline, and gas lines proposed to serve the property to be subdivided. Currently, it was missing the electrical underground. And then item W, sites proposed for dedication as a drainageway, park, school, or other public purposes if there are any. Item X, utility plan showing existing and proposed utilities and easements with the widths and owner of the easement provided. Evergy did make a request, and they have single-phase underground primary with 2 junction boxes and a pad mount transformer that were not shown on the preliminary plat. This would give the customer a couple of options for single-phase power if requested. And then the street pavement would need to be extended And then you had all of the attachments that were provided. Do you have any questions? There should be. Oh, there you go.
North side limit of one access only just means a single driveway into the property on the north side?
It means, yes, they could only have one access off of Cottonwood Hill Drive.
I had a question about that too. So they could put that drive wherever along that north,
It would still have to fit within subdivision regulations.
so you have a separation from Split Oak Drive to.
You
that
do.
distance?
If they can't meet it, then we would just require that it be as far away as we
possible,
could, because it's such a narrow site.
Is this lot is subject to the subdivision requirement of, it is part of that subdivision?
It would be,
That's out
it would be subject to
Lazy Creek
the
subdivision.
code, yes. No, the subdivision requirements that you have in the code.
Thank you. That's,
City.
thank you.
Side of Lazy Creek, yeah.
The city requirements, yeah.
Yes. They're called subdivision regulations, that's, sorry.
Yeah. Different world.
Yeah. We do have a representative from the applicant here this evening, if you have questions for him.
I was going to start with any further questions for you, and then I would ask if there was a owner's representative or the applicant available. If so, if you'd please come to the podium and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Phil Meyer with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. David Vansickle had intended to be here tonight, but he was not feeling well, so he pitch hitting for him. And very simply, so the Planning Commission knows what we're doing, David owns the easterly duplex that sits on Cottonwood Hills Drive, and that's where he lives. His sole intent with this property is to build a 14 by 26 shed, something like that. So we're really not looking to use this for non-residential use at this time. And I go through that because as he goes through this platting process, we know there's going to need to be a sewer extension. We know Cottonwood Hills would have to be paved at some time when it's developed, but we're hoping none of those are implemented with the shed. Not trying to get out of any of those, so we'll continue to work with city staff on whether we petition that, whether we record a notice, whether we submit some plans that identify that for future buyers. Not an issue, but all he's trying to do is his own shed that he's going to use while living in the facility next door. With that, I believe we picked up the comments that Suzanne read to you and resubmitted those to Justin. So G through X we have dealt with and sent a copy to the city. And I'm good if you just let our office and city staff work out how we're going to deal with the paving of Cottonwood Hills, short-term and long-term, between now and the final.
Are there any questions for the representative of the applicant? So no problems with any of the remaining requirements then? You believe you've answered those?
I believe we've
staff.
answered those and resubmitted them to the city between the report being issued and tonight.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant's representative?
I guess, are they making this request to not pave it? I'm a little confused about kind of
What I'm saying?
yeah.
We don't want to extend the pavement of Cottonwood Hills Drive to the east line of our plat with a permit for a shed. If we come in with a permit for a building, then we understand that Cottonwood Hills has to be paved and pavement has to be extended to the east line of the plat. So I think we're asking for a delayed paving requirement. If that makes sense.
Which would be a condition of the permit probably to begin with, wouldn't it?
Yeah, how are they wanting to access it?
I think he's just building a shed and not putting in another
No drive.
to this,
Okay.
correct?
If there's no access point, then that's something we'll have to review. But with the final plat, we would expect that what you're going to see for any of the utility extensions and for paving of the roadway is they will have to sign, the property owner would need to sign something that is going to be recorded that states they would not oppose a petition for extension of those utilities and the paving, which would be our normal process because it does need to be extended across your property. And so if it's not going to be extended at this time, they would need to approve, or they would need to sign something stating they would not oppose a petition at a future period.
Yeah. We'll be good with that when we have that conversation.
Other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I would bring it back to the commission for motion and consideration. Is there a motion in regard to the preliminary plat of the Vansickle edition?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Vansickle Edition.
There's a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. And a second. Discussion in regard to the motion.
Does our motion need to include that pavement will be
It should.
discussed?
No, it should include that all the remaining preliminary plat items and that discussion. That would be good. Would that be okay, Mike, if you included that in your
Yeah, can you add that?
motion? Can you handle that for us, Aubrey?
Yeah, and we'll be reviewing that with final plat, I assume, so.
Yes.
Okay. Is that okay with you? Good. Everybody understand the motion? Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 3 on tonight's agenda is to review the Rural Housing Incentive District for Sand Creek Station, 5th edition. This is for information only.
This is for information only, and this is for this RHID for Sand Creek Station 5th edition that is at the northwest corner of 24th and Anderson, down by Sand Creek Station Golf Course. We do have Rebecca Lickiardopoulos is here this evening for your historic preservation meeting. She can speak to this RHID if you would like her to present.
That would be great. Does the commission, is that the will of the commission or just mine? Sure. Okay. Thanks, Rebecca.
We're going to make a small edit. In May, the state legislature actually amended the title to be the Reinvestment Housing Incentive District, and we haven't quite gotten that updated even on your letter that went out. We're so used to calling it the Rural Housing Incentive District, we're still using the old title, but thankfully the acronym works. What you have here is your notice from the city clerk notifying you of the public hearing to be held in these chambers at 7 o'clock on September the 12th. What we're looking at is a 71-unit housing addition that they're looking for that reinvestment of those major costs. Things that we would normally spread on specials, they pay those up front cash, and then they get reimbursed that through their property taxes. So the development plan that you'll have in your packet, it's your draft, or at least you have notice of it. I'm not sure if we included the full thing. I think you've got the notice. And we can provide you with the full development plan if you're interested. It's in the city commission packet from July 25th. Lays out all the specifications and that 25-year payback period. The developer cannot be rebated more than their actual expenses. So while there's a budget in there and there's certain line items set out by state statute, they cannot actually recoup more than their actual expenses. So they basically turn in all their receipts. Those go down to finance. We hold on to those. And then every year, as they pay their taxes in a timely fashion, they are rebated up to their actual costs. This helps bring the cost of the houses down for the homeowners and helps them be competitive in this market. So the developer is looking at building a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom units. There's been a little bit of marketing on that's Liberty Homes is coming in. And they've already been building a few homes as fill-in the Sand Creek Station 4th edition that we were finishing up. So you've already seen a little bit of their product down there if you're interested in looking at it. But this is just for your notice as it's going to the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Education.
Other questions? So if you've got time on your calendar and you would like to attend that, that hearing, that'd be great. Putting it in my phone. Okay. So no action on that other than the invitation and to make you aware. Is that right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay. Item 4 on tonight's agenda is to review the zoning regulations for Article 10, which is for information only also, but if there are some initial thoughts, I might start with, is this the first time we've started working through design criteria for non-single family dwellings to this degree? I mean, I don't remember that, where we're actually talking about 40% of the exterior material and, you know, be brick or whatever, and the no snout duplexes. The garage can't stick out further than the front of the house, and so I'm just curious.
Some of these provisions were new with the new regulations that you passed. Not all, but we've tried, like we've talked about before, tried to get all the pieces in that we get asked about questions and trying to get us up to the same standards as others. So some of these are slightly new, some are not. And this would be for you to take a look at, as if you remember, you're going through each section again. You've approved it, but if you have things that you would like us to note, then we will definitely do that. I think we're going to, we're shooting for November to bring you back at least the first section instead of several of the chapters, so that we don't bring the whole thing with all of the changes that we've talked about all at once.
Any initial comments?
Can I just ask a simple question? What all does this relate to then? Residential, single family is
No,
not
no.
included?
Single
Right.
family is not included.
Okay,
Right.
it's
Exactly.
basically everything other than single family?
Everything
Okay.
but.
Right.
Yeah, so commercial, duplexes, triplexes, condos, multifamily. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to mention about that? At least we'll bring that up the next time once you have a chance. All right, then moving on, item 5 is old business. Anything that as you perused Article 9 from last month, anything that caught your mind that you thought we might want to have staff look into any deeper? Okay, anything? You guys are making this really easy. New business around the table. Aubrey, any new business?
I don't have anything.
Suzanne?
Sir.
Rebecca?
No, thank you.
Okay. I will be out of the country next month, so I won't be here, so I'll be able to hand it over to my two vice chairs for any applicable things that are needed, but I would just give you that heads up. Commissioners, any other new business? Okay. Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. And at this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Newton Historic Preservation Commission. I would call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to that, and realize this is a separate meeting from our previous. I would ask if everyone's had an opportunity to peruse the minutes of the May 1st meeting. And there's a draft minutes in your packet. And I would entertain a motion for their approval if it's appropriate.
I so move.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion in regard to the May 1st meetings minutes?
Not too much to argue.
Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 3 on tonight's agenda is to review a project at 115 Harrison, which is the inclusion or the addition of a pool. Rebecca, do you have this?
Yes, thank you. So this is not a common occurrence that we see in the McKinley district. Usually we're looking at porches and windows and big remodel jobs, but a pool is a new one for us. So one of the things we look at first when we get asked about a pool in an older neighborhood is whether it will even fit. With setbacks and with utility lines, there's usually a lot of questions. So the representative of the applicant is here tonight, and we started off with planning and engineering and reviewing to make sure that it would fit their, got approval from Evergy and making sure that the sizing was correct. After they did that, Justin handed it over to me, and I put together a little bit of history. While this was originally in the nomination, it didn't get marked on our system for a while. So you'll notice in the history of building permits, they did not get a certificate of appropriateness for their work, but it kept being marked as not in a historic district. So it looked like we had a little bit of an administrative oversight, but most of these were rather small until the formation of the district, so, or even afterwards. So not something to be too concerned about. For your reference, I put in the architectural description and the history that we have from the district nomination. Doesn't really apply in this case since the piece that we're looking at is not affecting the main structure or the ancillary structure, but this is how I present for all of the properties that we take a look at, so there's consistency. So just something in there for you. Again, the project description is this installation of a in-ground outdoor pool that, according to the applicant, could we get that off there? Oh no, the TVs are turning off. According to the applicant, will not be damaging or destroying any historic resource, which is the main item that this body is looking at, is ensuring that we don't have any historic resources damaged or destroyed. Would you like to come up and speak a little bit to what the plan is, and then we'll get some pictures up for you.
My name is Josh Fields. I'm the construction manager with Premier Pools and Spas out of Wichita. So this project is obviously 115 Harrison Street here in Newton. Corey and Michelle Jansen's. It's a 14 by 28 vinyl liner pool with a 5-foot tanning ledge there on the left side. So entry step and a handrail. It's going to have a automatic cover. There's, like Rebecca said, there's no changes to the home, the structure, or the outbuilding. It's enclosed with a privacy fence, and there's a small amount of removal. It's less than 100 square feet of some old concrete, so it'll definitely actually be an improvement to that area there, which is in the upper right-hand corner of the picture that you see as far as the concrete there.
Are there questions for the applicant's representative?
The building on the right, that is the existing garage.
Yes. It is an existing garage, so the only, we're going to add a small walkway.
To there.
Yep, going over to the back end there. Correct. So those concrete squares that table is on that you see, that's what's going to be removed and then replaced with additional concrete.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
To follow on his description of the project, you have a couple of tasks that are laid out to you as a certified local government, and I list them here. One of those is the damage or destroy provision. But the other part is to actually make the determination. While that is sometimes allowed as a staff piece, when it's usually roof replacements or very, very minor tasks, the rest of these things, while I might be able to make a recommendation, it is up to you all to actually make a determination. Our ordinance, under section 23-5022, addresses accessory structures and landscaping. We do not actually address pools in specificity. And so we're looking more about existing characteristics, such as the trees, the walls, the stairs, or other site features that reflect the history, that they should be retained. Looking in the backyard photos that we've been provided, I'm not seeing a lot through my eye that shows much existing architectural landscaping features. They also talk about the landscaping should be appropriate to the scale and the unique features of the historic structure, site, landmark, or district. One thing with a pool is, again, it's not going to be very visible. It would be visible overhead with an airplane only, and some people make that argument, but it certainly is not a staunch rule. And then if there are accessory structures to the designated structure, site, or landmark, they shall be appropriate and compatible with the features. Again, there's nothing that's coming above the ground line, and there will remain the privacy fence, so it won't be something that obscures from the street view or the neighbors. We don't have guidelines for the McKinley district like we have in downtown. We just have an owner's handbook, which is a little different in as much as it doesn't give you another set of guidelines you have to actually implement. They do speak a little bit towards fencing and lampposts as recommendations, but again, there's not actual specific guidelines for the district. So we have 3 different actions that we list, and again, you can take or modify as presented. One would be to approve the application as presented. Another would potentially be to approve the application with modifications, or to deny the applications that would damage or destroy the historic resource. And obviously, you can make modifications on any of those, but that's what I have.
Rebecca, you said the first thing we need to do is make a determination.
Yes, sir.
And so that determination would be that it doesn't go against the spirit, or, I mean, tell me what the determination is.
You would be-
Not that, I can see the recommendations, but what are we determining?
You
That-
would be determining that this project, if it moved forward, it would not damage or destroy a historic resource.
Damage or destroy, okay.
And that would be the largest piece. And then the secondarily piece in your recommendation is that you would have agreed amongst yourselves through a vote that it was also holding to those pieces in the ordinance, that it seemed like it was compatible with the district, or not uncompatible,
Okay.
so to speak.
All right. First of all, would a member of the commission wish to make a motion in regard to the determination? We can handle that first.
I can move that would not damage or destroy the historic.
Okay? Okay, there's a motion and a second that the application would not damage or destroy the historical nature of the district. Okay, any questions about the motion, or any comments or discussions about the motion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion for determination that it would not damage or destroy, signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The next motion that I would look for is a recommendation from this group, either to approve the application as presented, approve the application with modifications. We've already determined that the application would not damage or destroy. So that would be it. So is there a member of the commission that wishes to make a motion?
I would move we approve the application as presented.
Okay, there's a motion. Second. Could we include in that motion that it is in the spirit of the you said the ordinances that protect what you ask us to?
Yes, I think we could certainly make the case that the motion that you're making, if I understand correctly, commissioners, is that you're making the motion, approving it as presented as it fits the requirements of the ordinance.
Does that make sense, Scott? Can we include that? Good. Okay, does everyone understand the motion? Is there discussion in regard to the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion to approve the application as presented. In regard to our ordinance, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Congratulations and good luck on the project.
We expect an invitation. No.
Yeah, there we go.
I was thinking come over to my house and build one.
There you go. Keeping in the spirit of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Rebecca, if you want to go through the announcement number 4.
Correct, thank you. And I actually have a couple more to add that came up today. So one thing I just wanted to make sure that this body knew, and I think we've mentioned it in passing previously, but we have been selected as the site for the Kansas Historic Preservation Conference in May of 2024. It'll be the second weekend in May, and you're all, of course, encouraged to attend. It'll be a really good time. It'll be 3 or 4 days worth of activities here in town. So hopefully there's a time and a place that fits for you and your interests. So a lot to do. Another thing is that I have heard word from I'm going to get it wrong now, her new title, but Katrina Ringler, who's been our constant liaison through the state, that she would like to be able to virtually do a training with you all in October. So we're probably pencil that in at our October meeting will be a certified local government training. It'll be at the same time as this meeting, but we'll have her probably come in via Zoom so that she can go through the different requirements. And then lastly, you may have seen it come out in the city manager's update this past week. We did finally receive our official letter for the grant that we won this year for the Historic Preservation Fund of $30,000. That's going to be utilized to do an update of the downtown through a survey. There was a survey done many, many years ago that helped in creating that district. And a resurvey is a good tool that we can use to see if those buildings are still applicable to being considered a contributing factor for historic purposes, seeing if there's ones we may have missed, and kind of helping us reevaluate. It's always hard for staff to make recommendations if we know there's been a lot of change to a building, or maybe it's suffered damage and we wouldn't want to unduly burden someone, or we've had questions about buildings on side streets that the property owners were very interested if due to their good condition and historic uniqueness if they could be added. So a resurvey of the downtown going for the full C3 district is what we applied for. So staff has orientation on that next week. And that is all.
That's a lot of announcements.
Sorry. The last 2 were random as to today.
Are there questions for Rebecca in regard to anything? All right. Becca, other than that, is there any other old or new business we should handle?
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioners, are there old or new business that we should handle? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming and your participation.